And welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we have an amazing pesto recipe for you with a little bit of a twist. Now before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that we have an affiliate link with Chef's Temp if you need a kitchen thermometer or a meat probe. Please check out the link in the description below and use code LOVEYOURFOOD on checkout for 15% off your order. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support us there. But first, let's get going with our ingredients. So we're going to be using radish greens for this. This is the time of year when we can get those. There's some garlic, some Parmesan cheese or Grana Padano, some lemon, some basil, lots of basil. We're going to be using some pecans in lieu of pine nuts, and some olive oil. Now, it's not all the time that you can get fresh radish greens, but when you can, they are delicious. We're going to use them in this. We use them in a lot of different things. You do want to wash them really well, so we're going to cut them off. Now, the radishes are going to be used in a recipe next week, and you'll see a hint of that at the end. So here's our basil and our radish greens and the chopped garlic. Now, we just want to give this sort of a rough chop. We don't want to finely dice it or anything like that. Mostly, we're trying to make sure that the stems don't get caught up around the spindle of the food processor. So we're just going to give everything a little chop to make it easier for the food processor to process it. So in goes the garlic, the radish greens, and the basil. Then we're going to juice our lemon, so we want a good amount of lemon juice in there. It's quite a zesty, flavorful pesto. It's really, really delicious. And that those radish greens have this amazing peppery flavor as well. A lot of Parmesan or Grana Padano. Now ours is Grana Padano. You can use whatever, dry cheese you like. Now remember that it's quite salty. So you may want to mediate how much salt you add. I mean, it does require some salt. You can see here Chef Caleb adding some salt there, as well as some fresh cracked black pepper. But we're adding a few salty ingredients to this, so a little less salt than you might usually add. In goes the lemon juice with the pecans. You can also use walnuts for this. You can use pine nuts as well if you have them. So we're just going to start blending that. We're just going to pulse it a little bit at first, and then slowly stream in that olive oil. And that's going to make everything kind of stick to the sides a little bit, which is fine. You're going to want to stop it, scrape down the sides, and make sure that everything is still within contact with those blades in the food processor. You can see it's not quite uniform yet. There's some bigger chunks of stuff in there. So we're going to make sure that it gets everything pretty down to a nice, even sort of consistency in there. And that is looking great. And the aromas are amazing. The peppery radish greens, the amazing fresh basil. If you have basil in your garden, we will this year. It's really easy. Now here's the recipe we're going to be doing next week, this roasted radish salad, and it has a pesto on it, so we're using this pesto for it, and it worked extremely well. It helps that, there's radishes and pecans in the salad, there's radish greens and pecans in the pesto, so it all comes together extremely well, and you'll see that one next week. But in the meantime, that's it, that's the whole thing. Really, really simple and super delicious. Lots of flavor in that one. If you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. We also have a Patreon. We'd like to thank all of our patrons over on Patreon. If you'd like to support us there, I'll put a link for that in the description below. And remember to love your food.